depicting the execution of their pilot, Lieutenant Moaz al-Qasasbeh. Preparation for the mission, dubbed Moaz the Martyr, was depicted in a video that was released by Jordan, which showed Air Force personnel writing on the missiles. Two of the messages shown in the film were, quote, "We'll show you hell from the Jordanian Air Force," and, quote, "From a brave Jordanian woman to you, Baghdadi." Jets flew over Al-Qasasbeh's hometown after their mission out of respect for their fallen comrade, and Jordan vows this is only the beginning. In related news, Fox News is being criticized for making the full video of Moaz al-Qasasbeh's execution available online. The contention is that the network is doing this as a stunt to get views and ratings. Fox News Executive Vice President John Moody told Mediaite, "Well, this is a moment unlike others that we've seen associated with ISIS. The barbarity has always been well established, but this is something that has already been and will continue to be a galvanizing moment for the Kingdom of Jordan. People have asked since 9/11, where are the moderate Muslims when it comes to condemning and fighting global terror? And the King of Jordan is showing, through his bravery and actions, that it's there." The video drew immediate response from the kingdom, and it'll be a moment seen forever as a turning point. We felt it important for people to understand the barbaric acts that took place. Fox News remains the leader in ratings among cable news channels in the U.S. I'm Liz Harrison, and this has been your Vigilant Liberty Radio News from Independent Journal Review for Friday, February 6th.
And we'd like you to, I mean, you and I talked about this earlier, John. What does NBC have to do about this? Particularly, if one more shoe drops, but the whole credibility issue, with the news anchor.
Hello?
Yes?
Yeah, and I think the big issue for them is, waiting for that other shoe to drop, and the fact that this wasn't a one-time lie. It's something that he's continued for a dozen years. And when he apologized...
Hey, Miller, why are we doing this off the air, man? We should
wait
we will.
We'll do it. I just prepping him. And then
Jess, how much time do we have? Jessica? Yeah, I don't know if you heard her, Mike. She just came on a second ago. That's what I'm concerned about. Jess? Well, it says that we are back. Jessica?
Okay, we're back, folks, apparently. Howsam, bring us back. We're back.
Folks, we are back online. Had a bit of a technical miscommunication here. Thank you for listening. You are listening to The Right Mics with Michael Howsam and Mike Miller. Now, we have a special guest. We're not supposed to say special, though.
No, but this one is a special guest.
Okay, so all the other guests we've ever had, you have chastised me for using the word special, but with Gabriel, I can use the word special?
Well, because he's listening.
Oh, I see what you did there. Got it. We have an extraordinarily special guest on the line with us. John, welcome to the show.
My mom always said I was special, so... As did my teachers. I had to wear one of those special helmets, too. I think I was probably just so smart. Something like that. I don't know.
I always heard the word special when I was sitting in a meeting with the principal and my parents, and he always had both hands and index and middle fingers waving around in the air when he said the word special.
Yeah. It has a variety of meanings.
So we started to talk offline, John, about this, the three of us, about this Brian Williams thing. We're particularly interested in your perspective on this. And then obviously there's a couple other things we need to talk about as well over the next, I think we have you scheduled for the next 4 hours. So that's super duper fun.
All right. Pull up a chair, boys. Let's get to it.
Let's
Yeah, the
solve
Brian
all the
Williams
problems.
thing is what everybody's talking about, and it's. I'm just very curious to see how NBC handles it because, boy, it is a minefield for them. Just trying to figure out what other lies are out there, if there are other lies out there.
So see, let's let's approach that both ways. Let's pretend there aren't, although I wouldn't be surprised if more pop up here today, tomorrow, whatever, because you got to know people all over this thing, right? So, you know, John, we were talking in the first hour that the thing you have going on here now is social media, right? Because this thing might have died a slow death or a quick death. Um, you know, had this been the only story, and I know we have conflicting stories as it relates to the Katrina story, um, but this thing has taken on a life of its own on social media, as does much stuff these days. So, like, what do you think? Let's first take the tack that nothing else comes out, and this thing's not going to go away for a little bit. Yeah, what do you think NBC right now should do? Nothing else comes out.
Well, if nothing else comes out, I would say at least suspend them for a couple weeks and see if this does blow over. And don't make a lot of public comments about it other than we're fully reviewing the material and we're taking this very seriously. And that's if nothing else comes out. I personally, if I'm running the network, I would just can them today on a Friday, 5:01 p.m. Eastern Time. Just say, by the way, he's been let go. Thanks for all the service he's given us. Just because all you have, and it's not, we're so frustrated with the media and how deceptive they can be, but all they have for their brand is trust. And if you can't trust what he's reporting about his own experiences, why should you trust anything that he's reading off a teleprompter?
And that's the deal.
That
So
me,
if something else
course,
does
if
come
I ran a
out,
network, I wouldn't even have a nightly news show on anymore because it's kind of an irrelevant dinosaur. I can't remember the last time I've seen a nightly news broadcast outside of an airport when I was stuck waiting for a plane.
so if something else does come out and they do nothing, they make no statement, that being NBC, I think then they're going to start being hammered, right? Because it's about, like you said, it's trust, and we said it's credibility. And if you can't have your anchor being credible, because not only do you have people looking at everything he's ever said as we speak, he's going to be, as Michael said, I mean, this guy is going to be under microscope from now on about everything he says. That cannot be good for NBC, network news, and the overall distrust of so-called mainstream media, right?
Yeah, it has to be absolutely terrible for their brand because if nobody believes what you're saying, why bother tuning in? And it's not like a lot of people are tuning into, you know, they'll carry their sister network, which is already a joke when you have Al Sharpton reading the news. So, and the thing is that's kind of interesting about, you'll see a lot of people in the press rallying around him. Maybe they're friends with him or have mutual friends, but they're rallying around him. He isn't this singular talent. He reads a teleprompter, and I'm sure he's worked hard and got the right plastic surgeries and took the right, you know, public speaking courses. But it's not like this is some unique rara avis, this rare skill that they couldn't find anybody else to do it. You know, turn on your local news, and there's a million people who can do this. It's not that complicated. I think one of the reasons he's telling tall tales is he knows he's getting multi-millions every year for just reading a teleprompter and wanted to kind of butch up his resume a little. You know, it's hard to feel like a hero when you're making millions for just sitting in a chair, having a nice blow dry, and just reading something for 30 minutes.
Yeah, that is at some point. It's not like it's not like he's Kobe. It's not like he's driving a race car faster than anybody else on the world. It's not like he's Tom Brady. He's effectively acting.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, that's pretty much what he's doing. And I remember going to school with a lot of once I got out of the Navy, I went to school and got a degree in journalism, and it was on the print journalism side. And it was just very interesting when you would have classes with the broadcast journalism, because, you know, all their concerns were is what kind of makeup do I wear? Do I look good? Am I properly dismissive to my underlings and the camera crew? And it was just a very different skill set, and it is almost like a mini celebrity. You always see this with entertainment reporters, where they will jump in the camera frame and try to block out the movie star because they kind of view themselves as the star because they got this plum gig on E reporting from 1 a.m. to 3 a.m. And that's really what broadcast journalism is. They want to be the story. It's very good for their career to be part of the story. They want to stand out. And if you're just sitting there statically reading what's going on, people aren't going to notice how cool and awesome you are.
And of course, the meme is now hilarious. You've been looking at these Photoshops and stuff, John?
Oh, yeah. They're incredible.
Yeah, it's so creative and hilarious. So, and I agree with you too, man. You were saying that if it were you, he would have been axed at 5-1. That was my comment to Mike before he got on the line, is that it's surprising me that we don't have a picture of Brian Williams in front of whatever the NBC studios are there in New York, standing
30 Rock.
Dude. Yeah, 30 Rock, standing there with a cardboard box and a bunch of pictures in it.
Yeah, and the thing is, too, I've seen some kind of media types on Twitter wringing their hands over it. The guy is not going to be destitute living under a bridge. He has more money than any of us can imagine if we pooled all our money together. He'll be fine. If nothing else, he can live off the residuals from his daughter's acting career. Just amazing she got the first acting gig she ever auditioned for. She won just immediately. I'm sure her connections had nothing to do with that.
No, not at all.
No, she's like Chelsea, just singular talents.
Yeah. And it's just, I don't know, it's kind of like, I remember when I was a kid and watching a football game, and I'd be bummed out at the team when they show the sad team who lost the Super Bowl hanging out in the locker room. And I remember my dad looking at me like I was crazy, saying, "Do you know how much money that dude has?" And you're crying about him.
And Housen was saying, John, he was listening to Ben Shapiro and the liberal dude, Whitman, their show, and Whitman defending this guy. Ben Whitman, is that his name? But can you imagine, John, Rush Limbaugh, Sean Hannity, anyone being remotely proven to have done what Williams is doing here? The hypocritical left would have its collective hair on fire, wouldn't it?
Oh, yeah, and you've already seen that. As soon as Williams was busted for this, I saw 1 million people on the internet. Oh, yeah? How about Fox News? And I'd be like, yeah, how about them? What does that mean? Well, you know, it's Fox News. And I'm like, okay, yeah, they didn't even do anything wrong, and So even though they have not made a big gaffe like this, and if they did, they just would have canned the person, they're still using them as the paragon of evil in the Western world.
Exactly.
Yeah, right.
All right, so let's talk about the whole San Francisco minimum wage thing. Housen and I get into the whole minimum wage thing on a fairly regular basis. John, tell us about your recent post on that.
Yeah, I wrote about it at Ricochet. There was a bookstore, a sci-fi specialty bookstore in the Mission District of San Francisco. It's called Borderlands Books. Has a small but very loyal clientele. I heard from people who have visited it. They say, it's just a cool little place that you don't see many of anymore because of Amazon and the internet and stuff like that. But they were doing well and making a living and opened a little cafe next to them. Well, obviously, it's a tough market if you're a bookstore, since most of the bookstores, independents we know around, have kind of closed down, even huge ones like Borders. Well, these people have been through the ringer, just with the economy being rough and all that, but they supported a minimum wage increase. Last summer, San Francisco, their minimum wage was a bit over $10 an hour, and their mayor said, this is not enough. Even though it's the highest in the country, this is not nearly enough. People can't live on $10.25 an hour or whatever it was. So he insisted that everybody vote for a $15 an hour minimum wage. And the bookstore said, this is great. Social justice, baby. We're all in favor of it. So it passes overwhelmingly in November. And on their blog about a few days ago now, they said, yeah, we still totally support this law, and we're totally down with the working man, but we're going to close in March because we can't afford this anymore. They finally belatedly did the math and went, this isn't going to work. And it was kind of interesting because in the comments, people were like, well, maybe, I don't know, maybe you can do a fundraiser. They're like talking about doing a Kickstarter for the books. Just charge more for the books. And it's like, well, nobody's going to buy them because they can get them on
Right.
Amazon.